From Car and Driver Magazine, it's Ford's turn to play Fast and Furious with their newest for Generation Y. It's their version of a street car, the SVT Focus. Plus a flashback to the late 50s and the car that was ahead of its time. The Plymouth Fury is classic Car and Driver. Then it's a test of Mercedes SLK Roadster with more power for 2002 thanks to a supercharged V6. Those stories and more in this edition of Car and Driver.
This time, it's Ford's turn to introduce the newest product to join in the street racer games, and it's coming from Special Vehicles Engineering. This is the SVT Focus, with a load of European Focus goodies and more to take 170 horses out on the street and the tracks. It's the newest of the Generation Y rides, giving Honda a run for the money and the performance. To be honest, there are racier-looking new products hitting the street to appeal to the new generation. Both the Pontiac Vibe and the Mazda Protégé 5 look more like a fast and furious street racer. The SVT Focus is about function, not looks.
That's what SVT is all about: exclusivity, performance, substance. So we're not about paint and tape. We're not about oddball spoilers that don't do anything. Everything has a function with this car. So that's what we're all about with Cobras, Lightning. So we have to do it with the C car, and we're excited as heck to be in this segment and finally get playing with it.
While there are styling touches to set the SVT Focus apart, they are subtle. Darkened headlamp glass and egg crate grills in a cleaner fascia with black air dam extension. The rocker panels get a hint of ground effect sculpting, and out back there's a functional wing killing lift. But the wheel package suggests this is something serious. 215/45 Series 17-inch Continentals on 5-spoke mags. And the raspy exhaust also suggests there is serious intent in this car. And here's where you find it. The re-engineered, hot-rodded, dual-cam 2-liter 4 now makes 40 more horses, 170 in all, with 145 pound-feet of torque. The engine tuning depends on a 2-stage intake system that switches for deeper breathing when the revs climb higher. And the exhaust side is stainless steel elegance in a 4x2x1 header down to a high-flow cat. Now smooth the performance with a 2-stage clutch and run it through a 6-speed manual, and that's the beginning of satisfaction for SVT's chief, John Colley.
The fact that we were able to combine a high specific output engine with the kind of powertrain that we did in this car is exciting, because you know what? At the end of the day, the powertrain is the heart of the car, and it all starts there. Once we had that, then the balancing act, getting the suspension, the handling characteristics, the vehicle dynamics, the brakes, to all work in harmony to create a package that was complete. Because, you know, as you know, Jim, you've followed us now several times, we don't like doing one-dimensional cars. It's the complete car is what we're after, and it's got to be balanced. Balance is one word that we use a lot in the office.
And you may look for that balance and find it in any form of testing. On the track, the SVT Focus is great fun and very capable. Push hard enough and eventually the big Continentals will give up, releasing into understeer as you'd expect in a front driver. But we never found the hairy limit pushing hard around the streets of Willow Course in Southern California. Our skid pad testing finds the limit of steady state stick to be 0.91 Gs, which is phenomenal for a hot hatchback economy car. Or would you like to test braking? Try those larger discs on all corners? Once again, the SVT treatment pays off in a smaller number, 170 feet from 70 to 0 with no fade. And while acceleration isn't the G-force rush of the Mustang Cobra, it is respectable at 7.8 seconds to 60 and 16.1 in the quarter at 87 miles per hour, quicker than Honda's new Civic Si. Inside, SVT balances all the performance figures with upgrades for driver and passenger. The buckets are leather trimmed and come from the European Focus, with better bolsters to help keep you planted. The gauges show you SVT white faces and big numbers, a 7500 red line. and a 160 mile per hour speedometer. And you get oil pressure and temp gauges to keep an eye on the health of the high-winding 4. There's a killer stereo option that gets you audio controls on a stalk, and the centerpiece is the quick-shifting 6-speed. Taken all together, SVT has found the outer limits of the ZX3 hatchback that has been a member of our 10 Best roster since the first year of production. But now SVT intends to take 7,500 bites out of Honda's slice of the Generation Y market. And the price is right for the assignment. Base for the SVT Focus is $17,995. Add all of the short option list, sunroof, stereo, and heated seats, and you're still under 20 grand with our as-tested price of $19,265. A modest number that buys way better performance than we expect for that kind of money. Thanks to the wizards working their performance magic at Ford's SVT. Of all the new products showing up to entice the newest group of car buyers, those between, say, 18 and 25, this one is by far the strongest and most balanced performer yet released. But this one is also a limited edition this year, just 7,500 coming. So like the other sellout products from SVT, the Lightning and the Cobra, you might want to get a deposit down pretty quick.
Coming next, the fast one from Plymouth, the 290 horsepower Fury. Classic Car and Driver is brought to you by Midas. We do that.
In 1957, Chrysler called their new styling for the Plymouth Fury the forward look. And in fact, the Plymouth got the 50s finned look ahead of the pack. But there was much more happening under the skin as the Fury debuted a series of firsts.
Plymouth, car that's ahead for keeps. Car that's ahead for keeps. Plymouth, car of the forward look.
In the late 1950s, Plymouth used an elaborate musical production on TV to introduce the public to its brand new models, and catchy phrases captured the feeling that the Fury was a car ahead of its time.
Suddenly, it's 1960. That was the slogan, and it was true. Coming out of an era where GM had dominated styling with hardtop glass and flashy, interesting colors and so forth, and the Chrysler guys were still kind of mired in the, you got to be able to wear a hat in a car, kind of styling and tall, frumpy, and so forth. Virgil Exner comes in, and he started with little finlets on the, 56s and so forth.
And in 1957, the bodies were lowered and the floor pans were recessed into the frame rails. Tall tail fins set the trend for the rest of the industry, but styling wasn't the only thing that was improved. The new Fury was built to be a handler.
Despite the exotic look of this 57 Fury, there was a lot more to this car than big tail fins and gold anodized trim. Back then, Chrysler had the reputation as being the real engineering car company, and you saw some of it with these cars. Torsion bar suspension was on these cars, which was something all new to the U.S. industry then, gave them very good handling.
They were tuned to, corner a bit more flatly, and I think mostly just being that the driver sat down lower, he didn't feel like he was, tilting so much in the turns, and that translated as really good handling.
But speed is what grabbed the younger crowd, and the 318 cubic inch Fury motor dropped into a 1957 Belvedere caused Gene Vonderow to desire his very own Fury.
And my friend told me that he could be running 60 miles an hour with that car and he could stomp it and it would burn rubber. And my 16-year-old brain said I have to have one of those, but I decided I wanted the Fury.
Robert Hines, on the other hand, was attracted by the smooth ride and handling of his 59 Sport Fury.
With its torsion bar suspension, which was ahead of its time, and its low center of gravity, both the 57s and 59s drive extremely well. In fact, I've driven cars of the 60s and 70s and up into the 80s that don't drive as well.
It weighs a little over 3,500 pounds. It has tremendous power. The engine has 290 horsepower with the two 4-barrel carbs on it. It has a 3-speed torque light automatic transmission.
In 1959, they came out with a Sport Fury that took the place of the Fury. And they upgraded the interior, and they went back to a single 4-barrel. And they did reduce the horsepower somewhat as a result, but they increased the torque, and the peak torque came on at a lower RPM, so it replaced the high-speed performance with a snap at the low speed.
The speed of the Furies were impressive enough to cause the editors of Sports Cars Illustrated to drive one down the beaches of Daytona to test top speed in the flying mile. The test driver wrote, "Time was a thumping 124 miles per hour. Not bad for a truly stock Fury, tuned by a dealer's mechanic, driven by a writer." Along with the record-setting speed, the Fury offered a push-button automatic transmission and other options like vacuum-assisted brakes and a swing-out seat. The car was a good seller, but over time, the 1957 through 59 Furies were plagued by rusting body panels, so there aren't many around today. But the few collectors who now drive them really appreciate the performance, the handling, and styling of the Plymouth Fury, the car that's head for keeps.
Plymouth, car of the forward load.
Next up, Nissan makes a splash with their quad cab Frontier. And later, AMG stuffs 300. And now Short Takes, the car and driver buying guide to new models and new changes.
There's nothing small about today's lineup. We have this GMC Savannah SLT van with some surprises inside. We have a Ford F350 Super Duty turbo diesel pickup. But first we have a pickup that at least thinks big. The Nissan Frontier SC V6. The success of Nissan's Xterra taught them that edgy styling is a very good thing in the compact pickup class. They applied that lesson to the Frontier last year, as well as added this supercharged version of the 3.3-liter V6. They needed it. Now boasting 210 horses instead of the standard V6's 170, the Frontier finally has respectable power. Add in a reasonable load of extras as standard equipment, a $600 9-speaker audio system, and 4-wheel drive, and you'll find this particular Frontier SC V6 for sale at $27,826. But if you're talking serious work ethic, check out this Ford F350 Super Duty Crew Cab. Although these F-Series Super Duty trucks offer a wide variety of drivetrains, body styles, and equipment choices, this particular heavy hauler is equipped with the sturdy 7.3-liter turbo diesel V8, cranking out 505 foot-pounds of torque. There's a workhorse for you. It's mated to the optional 4-speed automatic, adding a little over $1,000 to the price. But inside the roomy interior, you'll be surprised to find more creature comforts than you might expect, like these leather captain's chairs. Price as tested here, $43,185. Looking for even more comfort in a big vehicle? How about this GMC Savannah SLT van? And there's nothing mini about this van. This full-size van appeals to those who want lots of room and power to tow, as well as those who like to customize the interior. Not much needed for that here, however, as this SLT luxury package comes equipped with 2 overhead LCD monitors and front console-mounted video cassette player, video game hookup, and infrared headphones. There are also lots of other comforts and conveniences, like flexible seating set up here for 7. Powered by GM's 5.7-liter Vortec V8, this big family vacation dream van sells for $37,290. This GMC van might look like the average delivery truck on the outside, but on the inside, it's a very cool setup. Just ask your typical 12-year-old. Right, Tyler? 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 Like I say, your typical 12-year-old. I'm Beth Stein.
Still ahead, the Mercedes Roadster that's going to surprise a few at the red light. The SLK is next.
Call now for your free copy of Car and Driver, the world's largest automotive magazine. Car and Driver delivers fact and opinion, testing and comparing hundreds of the hottest new luxury cars, sports cars, exotics, pickups, vans, and sport utilities. Plus, Car and Driver's exclusive 10 Best Awards. All served up with classic wit, attitude, and humor from the world's most popular automotive editors. Call now and get your free introductory copy risk-free. If you like what you see, you'll get 11 more issues, 12 in all, for only $11.97. That's a 72% savings off the newsstand cost. We'll bill you later. If you choose not to subscribe, simply return the bill marked cancel. You'll owe nothing and the free issue is yours to keep. If you're an enthusiast, get up to speed with the ultimate automotive magazine. Call now for your free introductory issue of Car and Driver.
You're watching Car and Driver, winner of 5 International Automotive Media Awards for excellence in broadcasting.
There's little question you've already seen this little Mercedes do its amazing top tricks, which is now a lot less amazing with other sport coupes flipping their hardtops as well. But since the beginning, Mercedes has been adding performance. The supercharged 4 turned into the V6. And now there's the supercharged V6 with a collection of handling goodies from Mercedes Performance Division, AMG. The truth is, we can be surprised. And that's certainly what happened when the AMG version of the SLK dropped in for testing. Mercedes had said 0 to 60 would be 5.2 seconds. But this was still the little roadster coupe that had been getting by on its good looks as the first of the flip-top hardtops. It had been fun, amazing minivan drivers in parking lots with the top trick, but the SLK had never been about serious performance, so we had our doubts about that 0 to 60 claim. And sure enough, Mercedes was wrong. 0 to 60 is 4.5 seconds. The quarter mile, 13 flat at 110. That's slightly quicker than the Corvette convertible.
What they've done with this car is put a supercharged engine in it, stiffened up the suspension, done a number of things to make it handle better, and it's a pretty exciting little package. It's essentially as fast as a Corvette.
That was a surprise that the 3.2-liter single-cam V6 with 18 valves could be that strong, with a supercharger and intercooler mounted between the heads.
Well, this AMG version of the SLK is just an incredible upgrade of the basic car. For one thing, there's just a huge power boost. By fitting a supercharger to the 3.2-liter V6, power has gone from 215 to 349 horsepower. That's right up there with Corvette country kind of power. If you look at the wheels and tires, we got big beefy tires on bigger wheels, we have bigger brakes, the suspension all around has been gone over with, and this has now become a very potent, very serious sports car.
But it also has the typical Mercedes refinement, so you'll have to switch off traction control to show off 322 pound-feet of torque. More importantly, those bigger vented disc brakes work very well, stopping from 70 in 165 feet. Inside, the AMG version gets new buckets in leather, of course, but with more prominent bolsters than before. The driver has a 3-gauge cluster with temp and fuel and the tach, flanking the 180 mile/hour Speedo. The center of the dash mounts the HVAC controls over the Mercedes stereo, and below that is the stick for the 5-speed auto transmission, with sport and winter traction modes, but the transmission is not what we'd really prefer.
About the only thing that we don't like about this car is the automatic transmission. It's the only way AMG brings this car into the country, and it's not a wonderful automatic. It has some manual override, but it's still pretty headstrong. It decides on its own when it wants to upshift and downshift, pretty much regardless of where you put the lever. With a sports car with this kind of performance, we'd like to have control of what gear we're in.
And we'd like better steering feel than Mercedes' recirculating ball design can offer. This car really needs rack and pinion like that added to the new C-Class. And we suspect the choice of Michelin Pilot tires may be the limiting factor in road holding. The Michelins are a great all-weather choice, and the SLK manages 0.85 Gs on the skid pad. But that number could be higher with a tire choice with more stick. But those are mild complaints in comparison to the transformation AMG has worked on what was originally a cute luxury roadster for Rodeo Drive, but now has turned into a full-fledged sports car. Of course, the price is now more full-fledged as well. As tested, $57,838, roughly $20,000 more than the original four-cylinder version with the compressor. But there is no comparison to the original with the work and the badge from AMG. So what we've got here is the first of the SLK series that will surprise a Corvette driver or an M-Roadster pilot at a stoplight or running through the twisties. Only one thing missing from our must-have list to make it close to perfect. Gotta have a 6-speed. But even without, an enthusiast can have a seriously good time with the AMG version of Mercedes' little flip-top roadster.
For more information on today's stories, log on to caranddriver.com, the enthusiast automotive resource. Car and Driver Television is an RTM production.